Hello, hello. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Dana. Today I'm going to be sharing how to make some 3D grungy alcohol inked leaves using the Dura-Lar Bright in white. And then I also have the Dura-Lar Matte, and I do have a sheet of the I've already die cut this one, as you can see. But I have a sheet of the text Dura-Lar print. This is in the Whimsical Florals set, so we'll also be using that. So to start off, I just went ahead and die cut some leaves out of the Dura-Lar Matte and then the Dura-Lar Bright White. And then I also die cut the text sheet, but I'm not going to alcohol ink those, so I'm just going to set those aside for now. And this is the die I used. You can use any die that you have or freehand them if you wanted to. But I used this tattered, it's not going to focus for me, but I used this Tattered Leaves die from Sizzix and Tim Holtz. And then I'm just going to add some alcohol ink on both sides of all these leaves. So I'm going to get everything spread out here. And then I'm just using a mix of alcohol inks that are autumnish, that kind of feel autumn to me. So I have two different tones of red, a kind of brownish green, and then a warm brown. And I'm just going to be using the applicator with the felt pad. These are reusable as long as you use the same colors. So you can see here, mine's dirty. It's got the same colors on it, so I'm not worried about it. It'll just add a bit more texture. So I'm just going to add some of the alcohol ink directly onto the felt pad. It doesn't matter which order, just get it on there. And then I'm going to put just a little rubbing alcohol, a few drops. And then I'm just going to pounce it on. And when I'm pouncing, I like to kind of rotate the applicator just so it gives me a different look. I'm going for texture with these. So I'm going to go over them actually a couple times. When you're using these foam applicators, if you go back over it, when the alcohol ink starts to dry, it gives you this really, really yummy texture, and it's great for these autumn leaves. So I'm just going to add a bit more alcohol ink. And as you can see, the Dura-Bright is going to give you a richer tone, a more true tone, because you're going on something that's white versus something that's more transparent. Okay, now that these are kind of starting to dry, without adding any more alcohol ink, I'm going to go back over and pounce the dauber back onto these. This is what I consider like the texture layer. The camera might not be picking it up very well, but it's adding a really, really cool texture. Okay, so I'm just going to let those completely dry, and then I'm going to do the back, and then I'm going to show you how to shape them. Okay, so everything is dry now, and you can see the lovely texture that the alcohol inks created on these leaves. Oh, they're just so grungy and fun. Love them. So how I'm going to form them is I'm actually going to melt them. So you're going to want to work on a surface that can be heated to a relatively high temperature because we're going to be using our heat tool. So something glass, something silicone, you know, some sort of baking mat or something like that. I work on a glass surface, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it on my glass surface. And then the heat tool that I have is an industrial one. I use this to melt shrink wrap, but any heat tool that you have would work. I recommend using something that is for heating embossing powder versus something like this that you're going to be drying your paper off with. This will work. It's just going to take a little bit longer because the heat is more diffused coming out of this versus coming out of this. So something that gets hot. Hotter than a hairdryer is what you're going to want to use. And then all I'm going to do is literally just melt these and heat them until they've curled the way that I want them. I'm going to show you how to do that, but I'm not going to talk so that I can mute this and then just add music or something so that you don't have to hear the heat tool. And then I have these little silicone tipped, they're called hot hands. Anything that you have that you can grab these with to protect your fingers, I highly recommend. Now with the Dura-Bright, when you heat it, it kind of gets gummy. So what I like to do is just let it sit for a few seconds so it can kind of firm up a little bit and then move it and move on to the next one. You'll also notice that it may kind of stick to your surface a little bit when it's warm. That's okay, just leave it so you're not like stretching it out like chewing gum is kind of the texture that it gets until it cools down. And then as you saw on this one, it kind of bubbled up and curled up a little bit too much. So I just flipped it over and then heated it from the back side. And then it kind of flattened it out a little bit. So I'm going to continue doing the rest of these and I will come back and show you what I make with them. All right, so I'm back with my finished projects. I ended up creating two little mixed media collages. These are just some watercolor paper that I backed on some cardboard. So I created the collage using the leaves that I made with the Dura-Lar and the Dura-Bright, and then the little pieces of script as well from the Dura-Lar prints. And I used 3 of those leaves on each one. You could use more, you could use less, completely up to you. I also thought these would make very cool napkin rings. If you just did a little bundle and then put some twine or something around it and then put it around a napkin, that would be amazing for the fall holidays that are coming up. But thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do consider subscribing to the channel and giving this video a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one.